Did you? This just popped into my head. I wasn't thinking about this today, but wasn't there a story about you performing at like De Niro's birthday or something?
Oh my God! I mean, it's my most beloved, saddest story. So it was this thing where De Niro, his wife, calls me up. This is no matter how long you've been in business, every mistake in comedy I made. She didn't make it.
Yeah.
Like that lady with the mic. This was me doing that.
Right.
So she goes, Bob's having a 60th birthday party. You do a De Niro impression, which I really didn't, but maybe I did a half-ass one. But she goes, could you come down and just do the impression? So you ever see Ralph Cramden when he goes, I'm going straight for the $99,000 answer. You ever watch The Honeymoon? Mm-hmm. I go, I'll do better than that. I'll do an act. And even she goes like this, like, all right. I mean, we just want the impression. I go, I'll do, trust me. I'm very, she's like, all right. So right away, I write an act, a 20-minute act. It's all on paper. You can't memorize an act in 3 days of 20 minutes specific to one person. I write it all out about De Niro, but it's when I look back on it, I show up, there's Billy Crystal, Robin Williams, Whoopi Goldberg, there's Irwin Winkler, there's big producer of all the movies, there's Chaz Palminteri, there's Christopher Walken, all these guys are there, all these big names.
Yeah. This is at a restaurant? Or
at a restaurant called Le Cirque, the fanciest restaurant in New York at the time. And it's right across from St. Patrick's Cathedral. And so once again, now part one, mistake. She told you to do the impression, get out.
Right.
And I got to be a big shot. But in my mind, I'm like, you know what? This is my time. I was doing great at stand-up. I was feeling my oats. I was like, this is going to finally put me where Scorsese, De Niro, and these guys are going to go, this is the
guy.
Missing link for our later. Why don't we know about this guy? Because I'm from New York. I'm just like in my mind, in the back of my mind, it was my, And then I go up there. She goes, I'll introduce you. No, don't introduce me.
Don't introduce me.
Don't.
I got it.
Well, what am I, stupid?
Yeah.
I mean, of all. And I go, I'll just go up. So I have to interrupt dinner. They're eating. I lay out my notes. I get the mic. And Robin Williams, who was there, goes to me, he goes, suddenly I'm eating and I look up and I see you talking to a microphone. I go, what's Colin Quinn doing? He's a comedian. And he's wondering what's going on. So I start getting the crowd. I go, hi, how you doing? I'm not really a friend of De Niro. Again, the crowd's like, why would a non-friend be here at his birthday?
Yeah.
And I go, but I've seen his movies and I make a few roast jokes. So I go, hey, how did you prepare? You always prepare for your movies. How did you prepare for whatever movie it was? By looking in front of the mirror and apologizing to the audience for wasting our money? The crowd's like, whoa. And I go, hey, you gained weight for Raging Bull and you put on some weight for Untouchables. And again, I said, maybe you're not really an actor. You're just a fat fuck. Oh. So crowd's turning on me. So I'm bombing. Like that was my first page was all roast jokes.
Yeah, sure.
I had 4 pages. So I do roast jokes. So then the crowd's turning. So then I start freewheeling because I got Chris Walken and those guys were over there. And I go, hey, I just stopped playing because I didn't know they'd be there. But I'm like, get off De Niro. I go, hey, Harvey Keitel, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you make yourself at home? Take your pants off. Crowd's just looking at me. He's looking at me. I go, Chris Walken, why are you here? You should be doing a cameo in an unwatchable independent movie. Crowd's just looking at me. So now I know I'm bombing with the roast jokes. So I go into...
You're like, let me switch it up.
Yeah, I try to switch it up. So I go to my next page. I'm shuffling papers.
Oh, no.
So that was such good. I'm telling you, this crowd is dead silent. I interrupted a meal of laughs. You know what I mean? Because they're like the Kentucky thing.
Yeah.
They're at their party too.
Yeah, it's their party. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not even his friend. They don't know me. So I start going into this other, this horrible story of my friend who, I'm embarrassed to even tell, my friend who he died, but he had seen Taxi Driver. And when we were growing up, and he started describing Taxi Driver to me, and how how strange it was that he was mentioning Taxi Driver. But then at the end, I go, and then he died, and it was like this. It was terrible.
And then, are you seeing Bob just like?
What's that?
No. Is he like?
Bob's like looking like he's going, like. Keep going, like he's trying to support because he's horrified because people are like muttering like it's getting ugly,
Yeah.
And then people like like a couple of ladies are yelling out and shit. Then I start doing, especially during the roast jokes, Then I start doing this other thing where I'm doing like scenes from. I can't even remember. I'm thank God I don't have those papers because if I did, I'd have to perform it again.
You have to. You have to.
But it was so bad, and it just ended so ugly. And I left, and my suit was soaked with sweat.
Yeah.
And I walk outside, and Robin Williams came out, and he goes, Colin, because I knew him a little bit, and he goes, oh, he starts to laugh. He goes, oh, you know. And I was like, look, I had another gig that night. It was kind of rainy.
Yeah.
So I have this new cashmere sweater on a hanger, and I go, I don't, and the cashmere sweater flew off the hanger and went in the gutter, and a cab ran it over in the rain, and he just cried with laughter. He couldn't believe it.
Dude, okay, first of all, that's fucking amazing. When you bomb, this is like universal for a comedian, like especially an event like that. You know, there's the internal, like just shame.
Yes.
Usually you want to be alone for a moment, but then the thing is you always want to, you have to tell somebody, right? Do you remember who you told first? Like,
well, I mean,
obviously Robin walks out,
Williams
but I
walked
mean, was
out.
there somebody else who you went to, one of your friends right away, and you're like,
well, luckily I did have a show that night.
oh, so you could wash it off, kind of.
So
right?
I washed it off to a degree, but and then years later, I'm like, oh, I make that story into more than it was. De Niro's like, he's done 100 million things. He doesn't remember that bullshit. So I saw him outside the cellar when he was doing that horrendous comedy movie, you know, and he's there and he's with the wife, and Jim Norton is there. And so we're talking for a couple of minutes outside the cellar. De Niro, you know, and then Jim Norton goes, hey, remember the time he bombed at your birthday party? And both of their faces, Jim even said, they were so dark, they darkened. And it must have been like like this thing they hated that they never speak of. It changed the whole energy. We just walked away.
So he definitely remembers that.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, him and the wife both.
Sure.
Oh.
And then did she ever talk to you again? Did she ever? Because she's the one that asked you to do it.
No. I never would have asked her to talk to me.
Bert and Tom, Tom and Bert. One goes topless while the other wears a shirt. Tom tells stories and Bert's the machine. There's not a chance in hell that they'll keep it clean. Here's what we call two bears, one cave.